Chapter 1. Alex cast a glance at his friends, gathered around the fireplace in the spacious hotel lobby. Ryan, the epitome of success, sat with one leg casually crossed over the other, sipping whiskey from a crystal glass. His wife Martha, the darling of all, leaned against his shoulder, radiating warmth and charm. A little further away, a couple, Jane and Caesar Holbrook, loyal companions of the Blackwood couple, settled in. And I, the fifth wheel, Alex thought bitterly, adjusting his glasses on his nose. At 35, he remained the only bachelor in their group, always feeling out of place at this celebration of life. "Hey, Thornton," Ryan called out to him. "Why the sour face?" "Relax, buddy, we're on vacation." Alex forced a smile, trying to hide his irritation. Easy for you to say, he thought, but said aloud, "It's all good, just tired from the journey." "Don't worry, tomorrow we'll go skiing. It'll refresh you in no time," Martha winked at him. Alex nodded, although the prospect of a ski trip did not excite him at all. He had never been athletic, unlike his sporty friends. Remember when Alex tumbled down the mountain head over heels last year? Caesar chuckled. That was a riot. Everyone laughed, and Alex felt himself blushing. He tried to joke, "Well, someone has to entertain you." "Oh, come on, old man," Ryan patted him on the back. "You're a good sport. By the way, how's your book coming along?" Alex sighed. His first novel, on which he had been toiling for 2 years, just wouldn't come together. Slowly, he replied evasively. "Don't worry," Jane reassured him. "You'll make it. You're a talented guy." Alex smirked wryly. Talented, yeah right. Just a failure being pitied by friends, he thought to himself. The conversation smoothly shifted to other topics. Alex silently sipped his wine, only occasionally interjecting a word or two. He watched his friends, so successful and happy, and felt a deep sense of melancholy growing inside him. Ryan, the owner of a thriving construction company, exuded confidence and charisma. His wife Martha, a popular interior designer, was the life of any gathering. Jane and Caesar, working at a major advertising agency, always looked like they belonged on the cover of a glossy magazine. And who was he, Alex Thornton? A modest high school literature teacher dreaming of becoming a writer. A perpetually slouching, skinny nerd with thinning hair. Not handsome, not wealthy, not the life of the party. Alex finished his wine and stood up. "I think I'll go to bed, guys. Early start tomorrow." "Of course, rest," Martha smiled. "Good night." "Good night," Alex muttered and headed towards the elevator. In his room, he collapsed onto the bed, exhausted. Outside, snow was falling, covering the mountains with a white blanket. Alex gazed at the dark sky, pondering how he had ended up in such a life. Back in school, he and Ryan had been best friends, sharing dreams and making plans for the future. Who knew their paths would diverge so drastically? Alex remembered his youth, a happy time when the world seemed full of possibilities. He dreamed of becoming a famous writer, traveling the world, falling in love, and starting a family. What went wrong? With bitterness, he realized that he simply lacked courage. He always chose the safe path, afraid to take risks. Instead of diving headfirst and trying to pursue his dreams, he settled for a bird in hand, a stable but dull job at school. Ryan, on the other hand, always took risks. He wasn't afraid of challenges, never hesitated at obstacles. And now, at 35, he was at the peak of success, while Alex was stuck somewhere halfway to his goals. Staring at the ceiling, Alex pondered whether anything could be changed. Or was it too late to start afresh at 35? Perhaps he should just accept and be content with what he had. No, he decided. It's not too late. He just needed to gather courage and take the first step. But what step to take? With these thoughts, Alex drifted into a restless sleep. He dreamt of snow-covered mountains, climbing up them, stumbling and falling, but stubbornly getting up again and again. Chapter 2. The next day, Alex didn't go with his friends but stayed in the town, citing poor health. After spending the whole day in his room, in the evening, he decided to take a walk around the town and breathe in the fresh air. Narrow streets wound between old houses, and soon Alex realized he was lost. Twilight descended, and shadows grew longer. Alex nervously adjusted his glasses and looked around, trying to orient himself. He turned into another alley and suddenly realized he had reached a dead end. "Hey, buddy, seems like you're lost," a hoarse voice came from behind. Alex turned sharply and saw 4 sturdy guys blocking the way out of the alley. Their unfriendly grins didn't bode well. I'm just taking a walk," Alex mumbled, feeling a chill run down his spine. "Taking a walk?" One of the guys smirked, taking a step forward. "We're actually looking for some company. How about we take a walk together?" Alex stepped back, frantically trying to figure out what to do. There was nowhere to run, he didn't know how to fight, and his mobile phone was left in the room. "Listen, guys," he began with a trembling voice, "I don't have anything valuable." "Well, we'll see about that," another guy growled, pulling out a knife from his pocket. Alex pressed against the wall in horror, realizing the situation was hopeless. And suddenly, "Hey, you!" a familiar voice rang out. "Leave my friend alone." Alex couldn't believe his eyes. Just moments ago, he stood pressed against the wall, awaiting the inevitable punishment from 4 thugs, and suddenly the situation changed drastically. Ryan, his old friend, burst into the alley like a hurricane, and now Ryan moved with inhuman speed and precision. His fists flashed through the air, delivering blows with terrifying cruelty. The first attacker fell to the ground, not even understanding what had happened. The second tried to pull out a knife, but Ryan intercepted his hand and twisted his wrist with a crunch. Alex watched in horror at what was unfolding. He had never seen such ruthlessness in his friend. Ryan, always so restrained and balanced in ordinary life, was now completely his opposite. The third bandit tried to attack from behind, but Ryan, as if sensing the threat, swiftly turned around and delivered a devastating blow to the jaw. There was a sickening crunch, and the attacker collapsed to the ground, unconscious. The last of the 4, seeing things were going south, tried to flee. But Ryan caught up to him in 2 leaps, grabbed him by the jacket, and forcefully slammed him against the wall. "Where do you think you're going, buddy?" he hissed, raising his fist to strike. "Ryan, stop!" Alex shouted, unable to bear watching the beating any longer. "They are no longer a threat." Ryan paused for a moment, breathing heavily. Then he slowly lowered his hand and released the last attacker, who immediately ran off. Silence fell in the alley, interrupted only by the groans of the defeated bandits. Alex cautiously approached his friend, still not believing what had happened. "Ryan, what was that?" he asked with a trembling voice. Ryan turned to him, and Alex involuntarily recoiled. There was still a fire of rage burning in his friend's eyes, completely foreign to the Ryan he knew. "That, Alex, was necessity," Ryan hoarsely replied, flexing his bloodied fingers. "Sometimes one must act harshly to survive." Alex shook his head, trying to make sense of what he had witnessed. "But you could have seriously hurt them. This is no longer self-defense, This is the real world, Alex," Ryan interrupted. "There is no room for weakness here. It's either you or them." He stepped closer, and Alex instinctively took a step back. Ryan smirked, noticing his reaction. "Are you afraid of me now, huh?" he asked with a strange tone. "You're right to be." Alex looked at his friend in confusion, not recognizing him. Where had the cheerful, good-natured Ryan he had known for so many years gone? "Listen, Alex," Ryan suddenly said, lowering his voice to a whisper. "Our friendship, it's special, you know? We've been through a lot together. But you know what?" He suddenly grabbed Alex by the shoulders, locking eyes with him. "There may come a day when I have to kill you." Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. He tried to pull away, but Ryan's grip was ironclad. What are you saying?" he mumbled. "Ryan, you're not yourself. Let's go back to the hotel, you need to rest." Ryan suddenly laughed and let him go. "Relax, buddy, I was just kidding," he said, patting Alex on the shoulder. "You should have seen your face." But Alex couldn't relax. In Ryan's eyes, he saw something he had never noticed before. Something dark and dangerous. "Let's get out of here," said Ryan, heading towards the alley exit. We need to clean up our hands, or Martha will ask unnecessary questions. As they walked back to the hotel, Alex sneakily glanced at Ryan. Outwardly, he seemed the same confident stride, a light smile on his lips. But now Alex knew that behind this mask was something completely different. The person he considered his best friend suddenly appeared in a completely different light. "What are you thinking about?" Ryan suddenly asked, noticing his gaze. "Oh, nothing, really," Alex tried to brush it off. Ryan smirked. "You never were good at lying, old friend." "Still digesting what you saw, huh?" Alex sighed. I've never seen you like that." "It was frightening." "Life is a scary thing, Alex," philosophically remarked Ryan. "But you know what? It's in these moments that you truly feel alive." They reached the hotel and stopped at the entrance. "Listen," said Ryan, putting his hand on Alex's shoulder. "What you saw today. Let's keep it between us, okay? No need to worry the others." Alex silently nodded, unable to utter a word. "That's great," smiled Ryan. "And now let's go, have a stronger drink. After such a shake-up, we both could use it." He entered the hotel, while Alex stood on the street for a few more seconds, deeply inhaling the frosty air. He felt that his life would never be the same again. With a heavy heart, Alex entered the hotel, wondering what else this trip would bring him and what other secrets his perfect friends were hiding. Chapter 3. Alex sat in his room, staring out the window at the snow-covered mountain peaks. The events of the previous evening wouldn't leave his mind. The image of Ryan, beating those thugs with inhuman cruelty, haunted him even in his dreams. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Alex startled and reluctantly got up to open it. Standing at the threshold was Ryan, smiling as if nothing had happened, with his trademark bright smile. "Hey, buddy," he exclaimed. "Why are you sulking in these four walls? Let's play some video games." Alex hesitated, unsure how to react. On one hand, he was still shocked by the events of yesterday. On the other hand, Ryan was acting as if nothing had happened. "Well, okay," Alex replied uncertainly, stepping aside to let his friend into the room. Ryan flopped down on the couch, turned on the TV, and started setting up the game console. Alex slowly sat down next to him, sneakily glancing at his friend's hands. Ryan's fingertips were slightly swollen, but there were no serious injuries. "What should we play?" Alex asked, trying to sound casual. "Let's play some fighting game," Ryan suggested, scrolling through the list of games. "I'm in the mood to kick someone's ass today." Alex involuntarily shuddered at those words, recalling yesterday. Ryan seemed not to notice his reaction and started the game. The next hour was spent battling virtual fighters on the screen. Ryan was fully immersed in the game, enthusiastically commenting on every successful move. Alex, on the other hand, couldn't concentrate, constantly losing. "Hey, why are you so distracted today?" Ryan asked after another round. "Usually, you give me a run for my money." Alex shrugged. "Just didn't get enough sleep, I guess." Ryan put down the joystick and looked closely at his friend. "Listen, if you're still bothered by yesterday." No, everything's fine," Alex hastily replied, though his voice sounded unconvincing even to himself. Ryan sighed. "You know, sometimes you have to do things you're not proud of." "And what happened yesterday?" "I'm not proud of it." Alex remained silent, unsure of what to say. Ryan suddenly changed the subject abruptly. "Okay, enough about that. Listen, I have a little problem with Martha." Alex became wary. "What's the problem?" Ryan waved his hand. "Nothing serious. It's just that she's been a bit distant lately, you know. I'm thinking maybe I should get her something. Women love gifts, right?" Alex nodded, feeling some relief that the conversation had shifted away from yesterday's events. "Good idea," he said. "What do you think of buying?" "I don't know," Ryan shrugged. "Maybe we should go to that boutique in the center? You're our expert on women's stuff, you'll help me choose." Alex was about to object that he was not an expert at all, but he stayed silent. He wanted to believe that this shopping trip would bring their relationship back to normal. They left the hotel and headed to the town center. Ryan chattered all the way about some business plans, while Alex silently nodded, lost in his thoughts. The boutique turned out to be small but very elegant. Behind the counter stood a young, pretty girl who smiled warmly at them. "Good day, gentlemen. How can I help you?" Ryan instantly transformed. His eyes sparkled, a charming smile appeared on his lips. "Good day, lovely lady," he murmured, approaching the counter. "We are looking for a gift for a special woman. And it seems we are very lucky to meet such a charming assistant." The girl blushed at the compliment. Alex watched this scene with growing disapproval. He suddenly realized that Ryan had switched to his manipulator mode, which he so often used in business. For the next half an hour, Ryan flirted with the saleswoman, charming her with his jokes and compliments. The girl melted before their eyes, showing them the most expensive jewelry and accessories. Finally, Ryan chose an expensive necklace and, paying for it, turned to Alex. "So, do you think Marta will like it?" Alex shrugged. "Probably," he dryly replied. "Listen, I think I'll go back to the hotel. I have a bit of a headache." Ryan raised an eyebrow in surprise. "What's wrong with you?" "We were planning to grab a beer." Another time, Alex replied and, without waiting for a response, left the store. He headed back to the hotel at a brisk pace, feeling irritation growing inside. Everything he had learned about Ryan in the past day just didn't make sense. Cruelty, manipulation. Could this really be the real Ryan Blackwood? Returning to his room, Alex collapsed on the bed and stared at the ceiling. He remembered their school years when he and Ryan were best friends. When everything was simple and clear. Where did that Ryan go? Or was he always like this and Alex just didn't notice? He drifted back into sleep with heavy thoughts. This time he dreamt he was playing a computer game where all the characters wore masks. And no matter which mask he reached for, underneath was always Ryan's face with a cold, calculating smile. Chapter 4. Alex stood at the grill, flipping juicy steaks. The smell of grilled meat mixed with the scent of pine, creating an idyllic atmosphere. He organized this barbecue, hoping to lighten the mood after the tense past few days. Martha, Ryan's wife, approached him with a glass of wine in hand. It smells delicious." "You're a true master chef, Alex." Alex smiled shyly. "Oh, come on, just got lucky with the meat." They chatted casually, discussing the latest news and plans for the remaining days of vacation. Alex couldn't help but notice how Martha seemed to blossom in his company. Her eyes sparkled, and her laughter sounded light and carefree. Suddenly, as if out of nowhere, Ryan appeared. His face was contorted with rage. "What the hell is going on here?" he growled, glaring at Alex and Martha. Alex blinked in confusion. "Ryan? We were just talking." But before he could finish, Ryan, with inhuman speed, closed the distance between them and forcefully pushed Alex in the chest. Caught off guard by the attack, Alex flew backward, stumbled over the grill, and fell, knocking over a tray of hot meat onto himself. "Ryan, stop!" Martha shouted, trying to pull her husband away. But Ryan seemed not to hear her. His eyes burned with a mad fire as he loomed over Alex, preparing to strike him. "Thought I wouldn't notice you circling around my wife? Thought you could take her away from me behind my back?" In shock, Alex looked at his friend, not recognizing him. "Ryan, have you lost your mind? We were just talking." Suddenly, he released Alex, then stood up and grabbed Martha, dragging her towards the house. "We will talk separately with you." The door of the house slammed shut with a bang. The other guests froze in shock, not knowing how to react to what had happened. Jane and Cesar rushed to help Alex get up. From the house came Ryan's screams and Martha's muffled sobs. Alex, shaking off the food remnants, felt a growing sense of unease inside. What is happening to his friend? Why has he changed so much? Several days passed. Alex tried to avoid Ryan and Martha, still digesting what had happened. He wandered around the resort, trying to make sense of his thoughts and feelings. One morning, returning from another walk, he ran into Jane at the hotel entrance. Her face was grim and worried. "Alex, we need to talk," she said, looking around. "Not here. Let's go to my room." Intrigued and slightly scared, Alex followed her. In Jane's room, she closed the door tightly and turned to him. Alex, something terrible happened. Ryan, he hit Martha. Alex felt the ground slipping from under his feet. What? It can't be. Jane bitterly smiled. It can. And you know what's even worse? This is not the first time. She told Alex that Martha confessed to her that Ryan had been raising his hand to her for a long time. It usually happened when he was drunk or angry about work problems. But lately, the episodes of violence had increased. Right now, Martha is staying with us and Cesar, Jane finished. She's afraid to go back to Ryan. Alex listened to all this with growing horror. How could he not have noticed? How could he not understand what was happening to his best friends? We need to do something, he said decisively. Maybe we should go to the police? But Jane shook her head. No, Alex. Martha doesn't want to make a fuss. She still loves him, can you imagine? She hopes he will change. Alex couldn't believe his ears, but we can't just sit idly by. Jane put her hand on his shoulder. Listen, I know you want to help. But right now, the best thing you can do is to stay out of it. Don't interfere, okay? It could only make the situation worse. Alex felt a growing sense of outrage inside. Stay out of it? Jane, we're talking about my friends. How can I, please, Alex, Jane interrupted him. Just trust me, okay? I know what I'm doing. With these words, she gently but firmly led him out of the room. Alex stood in the corridor, stunned and bewildered. He slowly made his way to his room, trying to make sense of what he had heard. Ryan, his best friend, was beating his wife. Martha, always so strong and independent, was enduring violence and couldn't break free from this cycle. And he, Alex, was supposed to just stand aside and watch as the lives of his friends crumbled? Closing the door to his room behind him, Alex collapsed onto the bed. He felt utterly helpless. Staring at the ceiling, Alex recalled their youth with Ryan. How they dreamed of changing the world for the better, how they made plans for the future. Where had all of that gone? At what point did Ryan turn into a monster capable of raising a hand against the woman he loved? Questions swirled in his mind, but there were no answers. Alex felt a growing determination inside. He couldn't just sit idly by, despite Jane's plea. He had to do something to help Martha and, perhaps, save his friend's soul. But what exactly? Alex didn't know yet. Chapter 5. Alex stood by the grill, mechanically turning the kebabs. His thoughts were far from this new barbecue, organized in an attempt to restore a normal atmosphere among friends. He kept glancing at Martha, who sat at the table, nervously fidgeting with a napkin. Jane and Cesar were whispering to her quietly, their faces serious and concerned. Alex couldn't hear their conversation, but he guessed its content. They were trying to convince Martha to leave Ryan. Ryan was absent today. After the incident at the previous barbecue and the subsequent beating of Martha, no one was eager to see him here. Alex sighed, remembering how just a few weeks ago they were all a happy group of friends. How quickly everything had changed, how easily what seemed unbreakable had been shattered. Martha, dear, you can't continue living like this, Jane's voice reached him. This is not normal. You deserve better. Alex turned to better hear the conversation. Martha shook her head, her eyes filled with tears. You don't understand. Ryan, he's not always like this. He can be very kind and caring. He's just going through a tough time right now. Cesar snorted. A tough time doesn't justify violence, Martha. Never. Martha lowered her eyes. I know. But maybe it's my fault. Maybe if I were a better wife. No, exclaimed Jane, grabbing her friend's hand. Don't you dare speak like that. You're not to blame for anything. It's Ryan who needs to change, not you. Alex listened to this conversation, and his heart was breaking. He had known Martha for many years, always admired her strength and independence. And now here she sat, broken and unsure of herself, justifying the actions of a man who caused her pain. I can't leave him, Martha said quietly. He needs me. Who will help him if not me? Alex couldn't take it anymore. He approached the table and sat down next to Martha. Martha, listen. We all love you and care about you. We can't stand by and watch Ryan destroy your life. Martha looked up at him with teary eyes. Alex, you know Ryan better than anyone. You know what he's really like. He's not a bad person, just lost. Those words made Alex think. Indeed, he had known Ryan longer than anyone. They had grown up together, been through a lot. And yes, Ryan hadn't always been like this. Alex remembered how in childhood Ryan always protected him from bullies, how he supported him in difficult times. Even recently, in that dark alley, Ryan came to his aid, risking his own safety. He remembered how Ryan helped Jane get a job at a prestigious advertising agency, how he supported Cesar when he lost his father. Ryan was always there, always lending a helping hand. And now this same person was beating his wife. How was that possible? How to reconcile these two images of Ryan in his mind? Alex looked at his friends. He saw the same struggle, the same lack of understanding in their eyes. They were all grateful to Ryan for something, all remembered his good deeds. And now they didn't know how to feel about him after everything that had happened. Martha, Alex said softly, we all know that Ryan is capable of good. But that doesn't justify his actions now. You shouldn't have to suffer just because he was once a good person. Martha sobbed, I know. But I love him, Alex. Despite everything, I still love him. And I believe he can change. He understood Martha perfectly. Alex himself couldn't just erase Ryan from his life, despite everything that had happened. Maybe, he cautiously began, we could help Ryan? Convince him to seek professional help? Jane shook her head. Alex, you know Ryan. He will never admit that he has problems. He's too proud for that. Cesar added, besides, it's not our task to save Ryan. Right now, the main thing is Martha's safety. Alex knew they were right. But a part of him still hoped that they could save both Ryan and Martha, preserve their marriage and their friendship. Martha suddenly stood up. Thank you all for your concern. But I'm not ready to leave Ryan. Not ready yet. I need time to think. The friends exchanged worried glances, but no one objected. They understood they couldn't make this decision for Martha. Alex escorted Martha to the taxi, feeling utterly helpless. When the car disappeared around the corner, he returned to his friends. What should we do? He asked, sinking into a chair. Jane sighed. I don't know, Alex. We can't force Martha to leave. She has to make this decision herself. But we can be there for her, added Cesar. Support her, show her she's not alone. Alex nodded. He understood that's all they could do for now. But it felt like so little. The evening slowly descended on the mountain resort. The friends sat in silence, each lost in their thoughts. Alex watched the setting sun and pondered how complex life is, how difficult it can be to distinguish right from wrong at times. Alex knew they all faced challenging times ahead. Whatever Martha decided, it would change their lives forever. And for him, Alex, he would have to make his choice, remain loyal to old friendship or stand up for Martha. He didn't know what decision he would make. But one thing Alex knew for sure, he would no longer stand on the sidelines. He had ignored his friend's problems for too long, hidden behind a mask of carefreeness. It was time to act. And although Alex didn't yet know what exactly he would do, he was determined to find a way out of this situation. Chapter 6. The clock showed well past midnight when a desperate knock suddenly sounded at the door. Alex, startled, pulled out of his thoughts. Who could come at such an hour? He opened the door and froze in shock. Martha stood on the doorstep, her face covered in blood, red stains spreading on her light blouse. My goodness, Martha! Exclaimed Alex, pulling her inside. What happened? Martha collapsed on the couch, trembling all over. Alex quickly fetched the first aid kit and started treating her wounds. He's back again, Martha whispered through tears. Ryan, he came home drunk. Started yelling, accusing me, said I was cheating on him with you. Alex felt a sudden chill inside. Was Ryan jealous of Martha towards him? But why? There was never anything between him and Martha. Martha, listen, he softly said, finishing treating the wounds. You can't go on like this. Ryan is dangerous. You must leave him. Martha shook her head. You don't understand, Alex. I can't leave him. He needs me. If I go, who will help him? Alex felt anger growing inside him. How could Martha think like that after everything Ryan had done to her? "Martha, look at yourself," he said firmly. "You're covered in blood. Ryan could have killed you. You don't have to save him. You have to save yourself." But Martha just shook her head, burying her face in her hands. Alex felt helpless. How to reach her? How to make her understand that she deserves better? They sat in silence. Alex didn't know what else to say. He was just there, hoping that his presence would comfort Martha even a little. About 2 hours passed. Martha fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from the stress she had been through. Alex covered her with a blanket and quietly went out onto the porch to breathe in the fresh air. Suddenly, he heard a loud crack of branches. Someone was approaching the cottage, and judging by the sounds, this someone was furious. Alex tensed, peering into the darkness. And then he saw him. Ryan was heading straight for the cottage, waving something resembling a crowbar. "Where is she?" Ryan roared, seeing Alex. "I know that creature is here." Alex stood in front of the door, blocking the entrance. "Ryan, calm down. Let's talk." But Ryan didn't listen. His eyes were bloodshot, reeking of alcohol. "Back off, Alex," he growled. "This is none of your business." "No, Ryan," Alex firmly replied. "I won't let you hurt her again." Ryan roared and lunged at Alex. Alex barely managed to dodge to the side. The crowbar crashed loudly into the door. Alex frantically looked around for something to defend himself. His eyes fell on a fire extinguisher hanging on the wall. Ryan swung again to strike. Alex dove under his arm and grabbed the fire extinguisher. Without hesitation, he turned around and struck Ryan with all his might. There was a dull sound, and Ryan collapsed to the floor like a felled tree. Alex froze, breathing heavily, still holding the fire extinguisher in his hands. Silence fell, only interrupted by Alex's heavy breathing. He gazed at the motionless body of his former best friend, his heart filled with conflicting emotions. Horror at what he had just done. Relief that he could protect Martha. And a deep, all-consuming sadness at the realization that his friendship with Ryan was irreparably shattered. The door of the cottage opened, and a sleepy Martha appeared in the doorway. Seeing Ryan unconscious on the floor and Alex holding a fire extinguisher, she gasped, "Oh my God, Alex. What have you done?" Alex slowly lowered the fire extinguisher. "What I had to do a long time ago, Martha. To protect you." Martha rushed to Ryan, trying to revive him. Alex watched this scene, his heart torn. Even now, Martha cared for the man who had caused her so much pain. We need to tie him up." "He's dangerous," Alex said, trying to remember where they could find some rope. What? What are you talking about?" "He needs help," Martha protested. "We'll bring him everything he needs when he comes to, but releasing him again is simply dangerous. He'll most likely be discharged tomorrow and come back for revenge. We need to deal with this now." "Understand, Martha, he's dangerous." Martha pondered, but ultimately agreed with Ryan's suggestion. They found sturdy rope in the house and tied up Ryan, who was still unconscious. They sat him on a chair and secured him. Alex sat opposite Ryan, while Martha stood by the open window, breathing in the cool night air. Chapter 7. Alex sat on the chair, nervously fiddling with his sweater sleeve. In front of him, Ryan, tied to the chair, was slowly coming to. Martha stood by the window, hugging herself. Ryan groaned, opening his eyes. Seeing that he was tied up, he jerked and growled, "What the hell? Untie me immediately." Alex shook his head. "No, Ryan. First, we will talk." Ryan turned his gaze to Martha, his eyes narrowing. "Oh, you, slut. Did you set this all up?" Martha flinched but remained silent. Alex felt anger boiling inside him. "Enough, Ryan. Stop insulting her." Ryan smirked. "Oh, defending your mistress? How noble of you, Alex." Alex blinked in confusion. "What are you talking about?" Ryan burst into laughter, but there was no joy in his laughter. "Don't pretend you don't know. She always loved you, Alex. Always tried to find ways to see you. And I was just a backup plan." What he heard shocked Alex. He turned to Marta. "Is this true?" Marta, tears streaming down her face, shook her head. "No. Ryan, how can you say such things? I love you." But Ryan wasn't listening anymore. He was staring right at Alex. And you, my friend? Were you also involved in this betrayal? Alex felt it hard to speak the words. Ryan, I swear, I would never. You know me. Marta suddenly sobbed and ran out of the cottage. Alex wanted to run after her, but he stopped, looking at the bound Ryan. Go after her, Ryan growled. That's what you want, isn't it? Alex shook his head. No, Ryan. I want us to sort out this situation. As friends. But Ryan just turned away, his face contorted in a grimace of pain and rage. Alex calmed Marta and returned with her to the room. You have ruined my life. Ryan blurted out. Ryan, please, listen to me. I had nothing with Marta, and Marta herself only loves you. Lately, we advised her many times to leave you because you constantly humiliated and beat her, but she refused. What do you think that is if not love? Alex spoke with an almost pleading tone. I don't believe you. You all planned this in advance. I personally heard her telling me that she loves you, my dear friend. Ryan pronounced the last sentence with a strong hint of sarcasm. I told you that so you understand that you might lose me, Martha said with a trembling voice. I was wrong to think you would understand. I am willing to untie you, only on the condition that you sit quietly and listen to us. Fine, Ryan snorted. So be it. I promise to listen to you calmly. Marta leaned towards Ryan and awkwardly started untying him. Feeling the rope loosen, Ryan grabbed Marta and pushed her to the floor, freeing himself from the rope. Alex rushed to help and attacked Ryan from behind, but Ryan met him with a blow to the nose. Alex fell, blood gushing from his nose. He saw Ryan standing over Marta. Marta began screaming at the top of her lungs, but each time her voice was drowned out by the pain from the blows she received. Suddenly, two large men appeared at the doorway. They were Alex's neighbors. Leave her alone. One of them shouted at Ryan. And who are you? He didn't even finish saying the word when the men pounced on him. Stop! Alex shouted, struggling to get up. He's my friend. The men stopped, looking surprised at Alex. He wiped the blood from his face and took out his phone. I will call the police. Please, don't touch him anymore. The police arrived quickly. After sorting out the situation, they took Ryan away. Marta and Alex were left alone. You know, he was telling the truth. What? Yes. I didn't say that out of spite, but because I truly realized that all this time I had feelings for you. I don't believe it. Believe it. In reality, I loved him and I was happy with him, until recently, but you held a special place in my heart. Marta leaned in for a kiss, but Alex did not reciprocate. What you're saying is just terrible. I understand. And I'm sorry that everything turned into this nightmare. Alex covered his head with his hands. Martha started stroking his back. Can I stay with you? No, Martha. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't be with you after all this. She burst into tears and ran away. Alex remained alone, in a state of complete shock. A few days later, Alex found out that Ryan had been sent for a psychological evaluation, where he was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. Ryan started treatment. Martha, on the other hand, decided to move to another city. The day before her departure, she came to Alex's cottage. Her eyes were filled with tears. I have always loved you. Only you, she said with tears in her eyes. Alex silently looked at her, thinking about what could have been between them. And realizing that, probably, nothing good. Goodbye, Martha, he said softly. I wish you happiness and prosperity in your new life. As she left, Alex stood by the window for a long time, looking at the snow-covered mountains. He thought about how quickly life can change, how easily seemingly unbreakable bonds can crumble. He remembered their youth with Ryan, their dreams and plans. He remembered how they swore eternal friendship to each other. And now all of this had turned to dust. Alex understood that he had a long journey ahead of him. A journey towards forgiveness, not only of Ryan and Martha, but also of himself. For not noticing the obvious, for not being able to help his friends in time. But he also knew that this experience had changed him, made him stronger, wiser, taught him to appreciate true friendship and love, to see the truth behind the masks that people wear. Alex decided to stay in this mountain town for a while longer. He needed to figure himself out, his feelings, and perhaps start writing that book he had long dreamed of. Alex sat down at the table and opened his laptop. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. He took a deep breath and began typing. Sometimes you need to lose everything to understand what truly matters. It was a story of friendship and betrayal, of love and hatred, of downfall and rebirth. It was his story, and he knew that now it would have a new ending. Thus ended one chapter in Alex Thornton's life. And a new one began, full of hope, discoveries, and possibilities. Because even in the darkest moments of our lives, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. You just need to find the strength within yourself to walk towards it. If you're over 18, don't miss the upcoming story and remember to click the like button to show your support. Thank you.